lenge. Det handler masse om det, og det et viktig område. Det både kanskje en god venn, og av og til kan oppfattes som en fiende. Men det noe som kommer over oss, og hastigheten i forhold til digitalisering stor. Vi skal introdusere temaet kjapt med en film igjen, og det Peter Sabel som snakker på den. Han sitter i Sikkerhetsforum for Tekna. Han tillitsvalgt i Equinor og har gode tanker om digitalisering. Kjør den filmen.
Digitalisering i vår industri egentlig ikke noe nytt. Vi har hatt dataløsninger i flere 10 år. Men det som nytt nå kanskje denne her tette forbindelsen mellom hav og land. At flere og flere innretninger eller maskiner på innretningene knyttet til nettet. Og med det har du ikke denne her klare skillelinjen som man hadde tidligere mellom teknisk nett og kontornett. En pumpe, en kompressor på en rigg nå synlig på internett, kan du si. Og med det også utsatt for de farene som alle andre ting som på internett utsatt for, nemlig overvåkning eller potensielt hacking. Det kan også være utilsiktede saker, altså for eksempel Mongstad-hendelsen. Dette var en utilsiktet sak, altså han hadde mente ikke å gjøre noe ondt her. Han skulle bare gjøre en sikkerhetsoppdatering. Men så ble det bare feil. Så tilsiktede, utilsiktede hendelser, begge to mulig. Hvis du og jeg gjør en feil, og vi kontrollerer et system, så kan vi stoppe et system der ute, kanskje. Og det har noe følger for de som der ute. Og de mange lever fremdeles med en forståelse at hav styrer seg selv, og de på land, de gir råd til hav. Men sånn ikke det lenger. Mye styres nå fra land. Og da må man begynne å tenke nytt. Det må man ta inn over seg at denne tilknytningen den har blitt mye tettere enn den har vært tidligere. Hvis du tenker på hva en kan gjøre med sånne angrep, det som skjedde hos Norsk Hydro for noen uker siden, hvor en datavirus rammet så å si hele virksomheten. Et annet eksempel, et dramatisk eksempel av hva som kan skje hvis et styringssystem overstyrer det mennesket som skal betjene systemet, jo selvsagt de Boeing-flyene, de 2 Boeing-flyene som sannsynligvis styrte på grunn av et styringssystem overstyrte mennesker. Og det skal jo selvsagt ikke ha i oljeindustrien. Men det 2 eksempler for hva som kan skje. Jeg tror det et veldig viktig poeng med alt vi gjør i forbindelse med digitalisering, at vi skal huske at dette et støtteverktøy for menneskene. De skal ikke fratas styringen, de skal ikke bli umyndiggjort. Kompetente mennesker skal alltid ha det siste ordet, og ikke maskinen. På sikt tenker jeg at vi bør se på gjerne felles krav for hva en ønsker i tanke på opplæring, kompetanse, hvilke typer standarder en skal ha, hvilke typer sikkerhetsmurer, hvordan dette overvåkes. Jeg har sett, vi har lagt merke til at Petroleumstilsynet for eksempel har skjerpet tilsynet rundt IKT-relaterte saker. Vi mener det bra. Hva bør industrien gjøre? Ja, de skal bare følge opp det gode arbeidet som de har begynt. Mange selskaper har gode systemer på plass. Fortsett med det. Holde de à jour. Vi stilte tidligere et spørsmål. Har alle selskaper like gode systemer, store og små? Sannsynligvis kan det bli bedre enkelte plasser. Så en type standardisering, gjerne minstekrav, slike saker bør gjerne industrien enes om i fremtiden. Bransjen har i mange år jobbet med å forholde seg til de analoge truslene, hvis vi kaller det, hydrokarbonlektasje, støy og den slags ting. Og det er et nytt trusselbilde som vi må forholde oss til. Og det må alle ta inn over seg at dette er der. Dette kommer ikke til å forsvinne. Dette blir bare mer og mer. Og da må vi se hvordan kan vi styre dette. Hva er trusselbildet? Hvem er aktørene? Hva kan vi gjøre? Hvordan skal vi opplære våre ansatte til å håndtere det på best mulig måte?
I don't know how much the next presenter did understand, but I'm quite sure he agrees, because he told me that he's been using the day so far to learn Norwegian. He's been sitting with us all day, and he has been traveling a very long way to be with us. The next presenter is called Paul King. He's the Senior Manager for Global Operations and Efficiency with Transocean. And he is going to talk about drilling, safety in drilling using digitalization, which is a very important theme for all of the audience today. So a big hand to Paul King, please, as he enters the stage.
Thank you. You hear me loud and clear? Good. Yeah, so as you can tell, I don't speak Norwegian, so I'll try and keep my English loud and clear for everyone as I present. So I'd like to walk you through, effectively, Transocean's journey through this kind of like digitalization, digital transformation landscape. It's been quite a journey for us over the last couple of years. And while I think I picked up on a few words from that last presentation or the video regarding analog and digital, etc. Am I right? Did I pick up on a few words there? So, which ties directly in with our strategy and how we've been moving towards that digital landscape, because we've certainly been challenged with equipment that isn't censored, it's analog, it's local control on our rig. So we've had to transform that landscape in order to move into this digital space. So just from a strategy standpoint, a few years ago when we had new executive management join our team, and obviously moving through the downturn in 2014, we focused on service-focused, being data-driven, and performance-oriented. So service-focused really, for us, boils down to delivering the fastest, most efficient, safest wells possible for our customers. Data-driven is utilizing the information at hand that we can pull off our equipment in order to deliver faster wells and reduce our overall well costs, rig costs, etc. And then performance-oriented is all around efficiency, which really kind of falls into my direct day job around how do we improve the rigs to deliver these wells efficiently and safely, harnessing technology and driving that continuous improvement culture. And really, around the performance-oriented piece is really largely to do with culture. You can have all the right tools, you can have all the right processes, but if you don't have the right culture to embrace and harness that piece, you're really going to struggle to move forward. So as I mentioned, our journey, our typical markers of performance have been safety and reliability. So we've been on a journey for a number of years of reducing our safety impact, which we've done well, as you can see in the blue line, and then the orange line is representing our uptime, so kind of like the inverse of downtime, if you will. So as you can see the arrows, we've made a step change in our performance, but how do you get to that next level? And that really is driven by that digital transformation and picking up on those smaller margins, if you will. So likewise, we've been on a technology journey, innovation journey. So when we talk about our innovations today, we've got a number, and unfortunately I've only got 20 minutes to speak. If I had all day, I could certainly fill the time. But we've got a number of projects, and I want to just pick out a few of those projects to speak of that are enabling that technology landscape in order to move that automation layer that we really want to achieve. You've got to move that equipment or processes from manual to a level of automation in order to feed that into the bigger picture. So when we talk about innovation, naturally it needs to improve safety, whether that's on the personal safety front or it's on operational integrity or process safety front. So we focus on those. Efficiency, as I mentioned earlier, we want to deliver faster, more efficient wells, and cost reduction. So naturally, we've got maintenance that we do on our rig. We have lots of expenses. Obviously, we have a labor force out there. How do we optimize our labor force in order to either move positions to shore and remote operate certain operations, that kind of thing. So we have a number of innovations I mentioned. I'm just going to focus on a couple today. One of our first innovations is enhanced kick detection. Some of you may be familiar with enhanced kick detection, but it's naturally driving safety and efficiency. It's all about detecting kicks on a well sooner. Naturally, you'd expect previously you have humans or drillers offshore are in the loop. They're the ones monitoring the sensors and gauges, et cetera. So it's really down to them typically to recognize kicks and act upon them. With enhanced kick detection, we're getting that quicker response. It's largely automated. You're preventing the size of the influx. And I know on the previous slide it said it didn't really tie to cost, but if you think about it from a well integrity standpoint, anytime you're having to deal with a downhole issue or a well issue, that's NPT on a well. So if you can reduce the impact of well issues and kicks, then naturally you're going to reduce the duration of wells and cost. As we talk about the next one, we're under well control packages. This is largely probably the biggest game changer for us, as well as the industry. In our opinion, it's called A-Shear. It's short for shear anything. And it literally is shear anything. It's transforming BOPs. It's a retrofittable component on the BOP stack. You can shear, as I mentioned, anything. We're doing prototype testing this week on a full 18 3/4 stack. It shears within milliseconds. If anyone's familiar with BOP operations, you're usually dealing with a long duration to shear pipe, and you're certainly limited on what kind of pipe you can shear. So with this, we're shearing heavy bore, heavy pipe, casing, etc. And importantly, from a cost perspective, it's retrofittable. It can be retrofitted onto BOPs without any major intrusive components or work. And then really importantly, in the deep water market, especially in the Gulf of Mexico, where you can work up to 10,000 feet water depth, is depth agnostic. So you're not relying on bottles on the stack to provide your hydraulic pressure. This is pyrotechnics, and that's where you get your immediate seal, cut and seal from on the stack. So this changes the landscape altogether. It changes how we can operate rigs. It changes the risk profile on a number of operations, and hopefully more to come on this. Probably in around the 2020 mark, we should be starting to see this being applied in the field. Now, as we talk about those kind of technologies, as we're trying to digitize them, right, make them more automated so that we can feed them into the automation layer, we're now developing or ADC, automated drilling control, which we hope to see in. Well, we've signed a partnership to install this on all our Norwegian rigs. And it's ultimately, when we talk about some of the other operations, the flat spots, we call them, anytime we're not drilling, we consider it a flat spot. It's almost an inefficiency in the well profile that if you're not drilling to get to TD, we consider that a flat spot. And how do we reduce that overall time? ADC is driven around automating the downhole aspect of drilling the operation. So again, making them more efficient, lower the cost, and starting to take all the various components and equipment on the rig and automating them to making them a more symbiotic process. And then, another the technology driven largely around personal safety that will eventually tie in. And the beauty of ADC is allowing for that plug-in for all other technologies, right? That's one of the harder things we've found in the industry is integrating other technologies into a system. So with ADC now gives us an opportunity now to really expand and to scale other technologies. With HaloGuard is a really interesting technology that we've developed around where naturally you can proceduralize everything, but procedures only get you so far because you still need people to execute those procedures to a T and making sure everything's done. What we've done with, in that respect, when we've tried to train and develop individuals to watch out for equipment, for moving equipment, and we've had a number of incidents over the years where impact of people and equipment, we find that really hard to ensure that people watch out for moving equipment or are aware of equipment at all times in their space. So we decided to flip that idea on its head, and how do we make the equipment aware of people? So through HME and Halo Guard effectively is sensoring up equipment, sensors on individuals tied in with camera technology, vision technology to identify equipment and people so that whenever an individual gets within a certain proximity of a racker or a iron roughneck, that equipment will either alarm or shut down. And effectively the two circles we show here, yellow is an alarm state, red being the equipment will shut down. So as you can see, once you've enabled that technology, you can now feed that into an ADC, and now you've got full rig floor control and all about reducing impact to people. We're currently in a pilot stage for this and expect in the next coming months that we'll have a full working prototype. Now, just some other examples of ADC, like I mentioned before, ADC enables the opportunity to just tie in lots of other technologies. So these, I won't go through all of these because it would take a lot of technical knowledge, but these are just a number of examples in which you can tie into ADC. Now, I meant those were kind of enabling technologies, so I kind of want to shift to now the more on the data analytics side of things, and how we're using our data to kind of develop our analytics of the future. So we have data and health prognostics, which is largely driving how we're doing our maintenance offshore. So we have various systems that are sensored up, so we're getting daily real-time data processed at shore, all feeding us with data across whether it's engines, whether it's top drives, various equipment, thrusters, etc., all with a view of now giving us that kind of analytical level of detail in order to trend how our equipment is doing. So as you can imagine, an individual would take readings, and we'd very likely end up dealing with a failure before we've ever be able to resolve anything. Now we're able to open up the envelope a lot more so that we can detect the failures before they happen, thus obviously reducing the impact to people, the operations, etc. And we should expect to see, this growing to all our systems over time. The important thing here is the early detection and maintaining our critical systems to operate all the time. So when I mentioned about the maintenance evolution, that data health and prognostics is kind of driving that predictive maintenance element, right? As we can predict when our equipment is going to have failures. Typically, we've lived in a calendar-based maintenance state where every 30 days or every week we take a piece of equipment down, open it up, have a look at it, and see if there's anything wrong. We find that time and time again that actually induces failures from a premature failure state. So with predictive maintenance, now we're able to detect. Still requires individuals to act on that data, if you will, and as we move towards prescriptive maintenance to the artificial intelligence, machine learning approach, where you need high volumes of data to get there, we'll now be able to be in a situation where maintenance is scheduled automatically based on the health condition of that equipment. So again, it's just reducing the decision making from people to where the machines are taking the data and deciding what actions we need to take. The challenging thing with anything with AI, machine learning, is a volume of data that you do need. So we're building that up, and as I mentioned earlier, where we have some equipment that doesn't provide that much sensor data, you need to transform that and get to a point where you can get that much more data off that piece of equipment. Now, just an example of visualization or digitization, where it's about visualization. We've taken, from a well control example, when we're talking about barrier monitoring specifically, just taking the data that we have, like say a manual or a safety case that, as I'm sure we'll all agree, has often sat on a binder on a shelf somewhere collecting dust, and we want to operationalize it. We want to operationalize those bow ties within that safety case and make sure that everyone on the rig understands their roles and responsibilities within that safety case. So we've moved to an iSafety case, a digital safety case, if you will, where that's just a lot more present in people's roles and responsibilities and day jobs and tied to procedures, where every individual within that step, as you can see, understands exactly what they're responsible for. And I just give a well-controlled example here, but every threat line, every bow tie within a safety case is mapped out in a similar fashion, where the individuals know exactly what their roles and responsibilities are. So that's critical if you want them to actually maintain the equipment or the procedures that are involved in delivering on the safety case. And then that's one thing to say that everyone understands the roles and responsibilities, but we need to monitor it, as you can see up here. So we've developed, or in development of, a tool that we're rolling out fleet-wide around barrier monitoring, which we actually took as a best practice from our colleagues here in Norway. Unfortunately, to scale it to the entire organization, we needed to go with a different tool, but effectively it's going to deliver the same exact analytics and level of monitoring, but now we have a consistent approach fleet-wide. And that's going to give us really the next step change in how we visualize and understand exactly where our weaknesses within with our bow ties and our barriers are at all times. Just another simple way of visualizing, and that sometimes is what the biggest step change for us is. Procedures are a lot of words on a page, but the better you can visualize a procedure, the better. And just through job by design, which is effectively a snapshot of a procedure, just like you'd have a game plan if you're playing football or any other sport, and you've got where are my people supposed to be, what tools am I supposed to use, and how am I supposed to interact in that procedure. This really just lays it out very clearly and succinctly so that everyone involved in the task understands exactly what's going on. But taking that just from words on a page to trying to visualize it's another big step change. So when we talk about digital transformation, it's something as simple as making something a lot more visual. And then we've done a lot with analytics, and I mentioned data health and prognostics, and effectively this is kind of the ideal of what our operating centers will effectively look like. So our rig managers, our assistant rig managers, having this data at their fingertips is the real key. So we can have all the data in the world, but if you're not providing it to the end user to actually act upon it, to transform our business, that's where it's going to happen. So when we look at just from a digitized performance visibility, where you're talking about operational data and how we're driving that continuous improvement, to the digitized verification, it's recognizing whenever I've got weaknesses or issues a lot quicker, and the teams can act upon them a lot more quickly as well. So kind of to wrap this all up, it really comes down to the human factors piece of how we're really improving what we're doing offshore and how we're going to make it more efficient. I think we'll all recognize that humans can make mistakes at times. So being driven by the data to give us very accurate decision making and very accurate problem solving will reduce that scope for mistakes. And likewise, with improved system confidence, with the data that we're getting off the rigs, we have a lot better fidelity in understanding where our weaknesses in our equipment are, what's the health of our equipment, and be able to react to it a lot more quickly before it ever fails. If it gets to that failure state, it usually exposes a number of other issues and causes other problems. Reduces the human factors impact. Like I said, when you try to take away the experience piece from individuals, if you think about individuals for the future that we're recruiting, we may not have the opportunity to build that 20 years of experience so that people understand exactly what's going on whenever we incur an issue. The data-driven process of decision-making, problem-solving will kind of satisfy that piece. We're kind of moving more to a passive monitoring kind of role for individuals than an active role as we were before, where the guy's on a joystick or he's operating a control. Now we have that more of a passive, can sit back, monitor, focus on what's really happening, and be able to act more effectively. And then when we talk about tailored training, that skill set does change, right, for people that are moving away from the joystick control to analyzing the data, understanding how they need to interact and change what's happening. So we're seeing that landscape changing. How do we train our people going forward? It's not the same training that we've done before, and that's taken on a whole new, different landscape. So with 30 seconds to spare, I think maybe we have some questions.
Yes, I do. Mainly one question. You are talking about, this is work in progress. It's research and development, and you're taking maybe huge leaps, I don't know. But will we see a new generation of rigs that are just in outer space compared to what we have today?
I guess it depends on the timeline. I mean, you'll see advancements. The problem is the cost of implementing some of these technologies. You know, taking a rig out of service to implement some of these is huge. So we're unlikely to want to do that unless an opportunity where you start a new build rig. And obviously the environment we're in, new build rigs aren't as common as they were before. But certainly when there's an opportunity arises, we see an opportunity to implement. Some of these don't need out of service.
Okay.
Like I said, we're always looking for a retrofittable option. That means you don't need to take a rig out of service. You can apply it between between well maintenance, and some of it's data. It happens in parallel to the operations, just like you get iPhone updates. You know, something that we can roll out, you know, seamlessly.
But is the market willing to pay for this development in probably then to get a return later in efficiency and so on?
Marketing department might have a different answer, but I think they are to an extent. I think we have to really define the business case. So that's why we have our innovation pillars of, does it really drive safety changes? Does it change our cost structure? And does it make us more efficient? So really got to be very clear on what that business case is in order to implement.
You told us that you could talk about this for one whole day, so maybe somebody will take the opportunity to invite you back to discuss this. It was really fascinating, and it's just inspiring to see what's possible. So thank you so much for traveling all the way from Houston
No problem.
to see us. Give him a big hand, please. Ja vel, jeg tipper det rumler I magene, med god grunn. Vi måtte jo snu litt om på programmet, men rett etter lunsj så kommer altså Marie Mo, som har en helt utrolig innfallsvinkel til sitt arbeid. Foredraget hennes heter «Med sikkerhetshull I hjertet», og det veldig, hva skal jeg si, beskrivende for hennes foredrag, så det bør dere ikke gå glipp av. Vi tar lunsj frem til 5:05, så det blir I hvert fall litt kompensasjon, men da må vi begynne precis, eller så ryker vi ut på.